Hey guys, I don't know what you're doing right now, but make sure you subscribe. Now let's get into this video. Let's start with BR, because you've lived in New Orleans.
Yeah.
So let's start with Baton Rouge.
Man, Baton Rouge is different, bro. Like I actually I was there for like 2 months after Hurricane Katrina, bro. So we went like me and my family. My mom drove buses, so we gathered up on the bus.
Shout out to Miss Linda.
We shout out to Lafayette, and we ended up in like Rain, Louisiana.
Yeah,
and we was in like a convention center, a community center for like
a shelter basically.
Yeah. I was in Alexandria for like a week.
Yeah, I was in Alexandria. Yeah,
and one of my grandfather, his sister lived in Baton Rouge. She lived like right down the street from Southern.
Okay.
Man, when I say I had a time of my life, like just seeing a different scenery and being so young, and I had my older brothers with me, so I was rocking all their clothes and shit. You know, at that time, it was over. Everything was oversized for us. You know, clothes,
big t-shirts,
big pants.
I look back on that.
You know what I'm saying?
Still can't believe that.
So I was having a blast. You know what I'm saying?
Dresses like that.
Yeah. BR is definitely on Ratchet City, man. It's
sure.
Jigga City.
It's
Jigga City. Dog.
Yeah. That's my thoughts too, bro. like you know, because when you think about the music scene, a lot of people, they're gonna start with New Orleans, right? And you know, Louis Armstrong, and you know what I mean. Like we just talking about Lil Wayne. You know, obviously No Limit, and and Cash Money, right? But Baton Rouge is they got a little force behind them.
They got some,
with the music scene, and they got a lot of guys that everybody.
Especially within the last 10 years. Oh,
but I will say this though, like when I left New Orleans, and I went to Baton, when I went to LSU. That was like my first time starting to get into dudes like Lil Boosie. Like I hadn't really listened to Baton Rouge artists, like growing up. But once I got to Baton Rouge, man, like Boosie was, I guess he was their Lil Wayne.
Right.
He was that version of them. And just the type of music that they made, like those dudes, like like they in the middle of the dance floor, sweating bullets, taking their shirt off, and they jigging.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Like a mug, bro.
And I never quite, I've never done that. I'm from New Orleans. Right. I think everybody in the Bayou understand me when I say that, and we think we're a little too cool. Right, you know what I mean? Like we're in New Orleans, and it's a pool party, but nobody's in a pool.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And whereas like go to Baton Rouge, if it's a pool party, everybody in the pool.
Yeah.
And
you having fun.
Yeah, bro. So from that perspective, I've always appreciated, Baton Rouge for just their authenticity.
Right.
Like they've never tried to be like a reflection or a partner of New Orleans.
Right.
Like they've sort of always stood on their own. The same way we do in New Orleans, right? Because if you ask somebody where you're from, they're going to say New Orleans, and they're going to ask you can ask them where that's at, and they're going to say New Orleans.
Yeah.
They're not going to say Louisiana.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like that type of stuff is cool to me, bro. Like just the originality, and obviously the people too, right? Because I tend to relate to people the same. I think in Baton Rouge and New Orleans, like they're community driven too. Like that's not too like far fetched. Like those things are the same as far as like the people and just how they show up and how they support each other. So that was like a real eye opener for me. But Baton Rouge was definitely. I've stayed in some great places, bro. Arizona, Kansas City. Baton Rouge was one of his own, bro. I enjoyed it, Obviously, I met.
All right. So on our end, let's just say this: in New Orleans, did you enjoy growing up in New Orleans?
Yeah, for sure.
Like
that's a badge of honor, bro.
Okay. Because kids, like they probably see stuff and they probably want to. Oh man, I wish I grew up in Texas. Oh man, it's snow over here. I wish you grew up where it's
They need to get outside. I feel like those people ain't never been outside.
Right.
For me, bro, I've always enjoyed living in Louisiana. Like I just told you, like that was a badge of honor, bro. Like being able to tell people, you from New Orleans. Even when people hear that, like they they embrace that. Like, man,
Right.
they think that's cool.
And you know what's
what I mean?
crazy, bro? Because I feel like they feel like we've been through some shit. Of course, we've been through Katrina, but they just feel like, yeah, oh, you from New Orleans? Yeah, you been through some shit. You know, that's a little toughness. You know, with just saying you been from New Orleans. You from New Orleans? Because, like you said, people don't say they from Louisiana. No, we from New Orleans. Like, and if somebody's from Baton Rouge, they're gonna say they're from Baton Rouge. They're from BR.
They from that rack.
For sure.
Which, living there, bro, you realize, man, they deal with the same sort of stuff we deal with.
Right. So what would be one of your first memories of like being at LSU?
Being at LSU?
What would be one of your first memories?
Oh, man. I think my initial memory, I was a senior at St. Aug, and I went to the LSU versus Arkansas game. And, they had all white on. They had gold helmets on. My people in the Bayou going to appreciate this. Because when people typically bring up the best athlete from Louisiana, I think more than not, my name would be mentioned in that, right?
Yeah.
But the dude that we idolized growing up was Chad Jones, right? And Chad was 6'3", 200 pounds. I mean, he was just good at everything: baseball, basketball,
and he could bat left and right hand.
And he played safety, and he was fun to watch, bro. And I remember him hit one of them wide receivers from Arkansas so hard. And like when I saw the crowd reaction live as it happened, I'm like, yo, I gotta come here. Like it's I wasn't going anywhere else anyway, but like that was a moment for me. And then too, bro, like when I got on campus, it didn't take people long to sort of start like gravitating towards me. So we would have like little dorm parties and house parties.
Right.
So those are like my initial memories, of LSU.
So of course we used, like I said, I watched the last episode. On Thursdays, we used to sneak out and we used to go to the Boot. This is a little club in New Orleans. So compared to like Baton Rouge, in the college town, like you think Baton Rouge has a better college town scene?
Well, it was two parts of Baton Rouge though, right? Because you got obviously the college vibe where you go to Tigerland and it's 5-6 bars in Tigerland, but like we didn't just party in Tigerland, like we partied downtown too. So obviously Tigerland was its own experience, and it was more college vibe. But once you go downtown, now you meeting the everyday people of Baton Rouge. You know what I'm saying? You meeting the girls that don't go to LSU. You know what I mean? Go to other schools and stuff. So we used to, man, as a matter of fact, you bring that up. I think one of the first times we went downtown, I don't want to put their names out there, but like there was a fight. And some people went through windows, literally thrown through windows, right? And I was like, yo, this shit is crazy out here, yo. You just wasn't expecting that. Like I wasn't necessarily expecting, football players to just like just be that violent. Like that was like the first time I was like, yo, these fucking boys is crazy, But then that's that's Les Miles, right? Like he recruit some crazy motherfuckers. So I guess
not out the ordinary.
I guess every football team, need that. So that was fun. Which bring me to the next fight we had was at Shady's. And that was the fight that, really kind of hurt Jordan Jefferson, our quarterback. He's Justin Jefferson's older brother. And we had like this huge fucking bar fight, bro. Obviously he was like the main target because he was our quarterback. And we all got in trouble. I ain't gonna say we all got in trouble. It was a few of us because Coach Miles, he had a meeting and he was like, who was all out there last night? And literally everybody stood up and walked out. And it was just like 6 of us left in the room. But those 6 people were the people that, sort of took accountability for, what happened that night. But which I thought that was a lot of respect in that too, like not letting him just sort of take the fall by himself. Because we all was there, and he may have started it, but we helped him finish it.
Right, for sure.
But I remember sitting in that room, bro, like, and not knowing how it was gonna go.
Right.
You know what I mean? But we was able to sort of rise from that. And we had a pretty good run after that, But yeah, man, a lot of great memories.
Right.
Great memories.
A lot, man, bro. I remember one time we pulled up at Tigerland. We wasn't in Tigerland no more than 20, 25 minutes. We was wetter than fish out the water.
Yeah, bro. Well, I mean, you shouldn't drink that much that young.
We was in and out, we was in and out. Like,
I think about it too, bro. Like back then, man, like it wasn't like these fancy shit people drink today. Like, it was Jack Daniels,
Spit on the rocks,
Lil Coke, Jim Beam, you know what I mean? Crown Royal.
I got another one for you. Paul Masson.
Paul, that one did a number on us.
Paul Masson.
So I'm actually just got away from liquor.
Man, listen, that shit that was deadly. I seen somebody go to the hospital due to drinking too much Paul Masson.
Yeah, I could believe that, bro.
Yeah.